think so. Some of them, while have been answered on the chat, maybe I'll just pull out a few that I think would be relevant for the public at large on the session.
And there are two who raised their hands. If you want, they can ask.
Yeah, I'll start with that. So Ritashri Sharma, I think you've raised your hand. I'll just allow to talk. If you can unmute yourself and ask your question, please. I think she's still on mute. We'll probably just go on to the next one for now then. I think the next one is K. Kumar. I'm just unmute. K. Kumar, I think if you could unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Prabhu Kumar here. I just want to know what is going to happen to the agri-based startups in the investment part. How do these startups plan their spending next 12 or 18 months?
Your voice was a little feeble. Mitul, could you hear?
Yeah, so what he's asking is, how should agri-based startups plan the next 12 to 18 months? Sir, I think it would be helpful if you could just let us know what's specific in agri, because agri is
in the sense aquaculture and poultry, these kind of agri-based. These are all agri-based, which we startups are getting into right now.
Understood. And so your question is, if I've understood it correct, is how they should think for the next 12 to 18 months is what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Understood. Sure. So see, all the other common aspects are kind of, they hold true for all companies irrespective of the sector. Agri specifically, along with pharma, edtech, I think some agriculture has not stopped, right? Supply chains have been affected definitely. So because of that, there could be a slowdown on that temporarily, but that's given that it falls under essential services. I don't think there'll be a significant drop, unlike like a fintech company for that matter. So from your planning perspective, I think again, whatever holds true from a revenue perspective, forecasted scenario analysis is very important. Best case, worst case scenario. What we have generally advised and are doing also for all our companies is revenue, project it on a worst case scenario, expense best case scenario, and see where we get at. You project a higher revenue and don't meet that, then you could hit a break point in between. So from that perspective, I think you'll have to look at what your revenue drivers are. If they are not affected as much, or if they are partially affected, give that effect into your projections, see where you get at, and plan accordingly then.
Yeah. So Mitul, just adding on the revenue side, if you look at it, because of this the whole COVID situation, there is a negative sentiment on the meat industry as well, if you look at it, right? So when you're projecting the revenue, I think you need to be more conservative than ever as compared to some of the other headwind sectors. So this is one of the sector where the industry where there may be the kind of like an impact could be much longer than compared to the other sectors.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. I think good thoughts.
Thank you. We'll probably go on to, I think we've got a few other questions. I'll just take some of these one by one. So one of them from Ganesh is, do you think online training plays a crucial role in India or worldwide in the near future? I think, anyone can take this, but one thing probably we can also cover alongside this is work from home as a concept. We are seeing this come in a big way. We are seeing a lot of clients talking about it. Efficiency is not dropping as much, even from a work from home perspective. So there are companies looking at that aspect as well. So maybe Sachit, Sada, Varun, if you could cover the work from home aspect along with the, this online training as well, it kind of might help.
Yeah, sure. So Mitul, two aspects there. When you're talking about, I will split into two things. One is training, and second is employee engagement, right? So there are kind of like innovative ideas around training. If you look at the companies like the the metals and who used to provide an assessment tools. There are companies like Nsrcel who had a bit of their own ways, how the employers could do the trainings and assessment for their employees. So this all the tech tools were kind of already there, right? But how do we kind of like ensure that there is an engagement on that? That was always been challenging, right? It's like almost like it's always like forced one, right? It's more of in that, right? An employer kind of like make it part of your like quarterly appraisal cycle, or kind of you have to take that certification for an IT company where you're working on a certain project with a Fortune 500 company. You have to have that kind of certifications, etc. So that which those scenarios was already existed, but now given the current scenario, the training is more. I'm going to talk about the upskilling or reskilling kind of a thing, right? Where the employees who are kind of like on a particular having a particular skill set, if they have to be relevant beyond this pandemic as well. Companies would definitely look at people who are with the relevant technologies or the skill set. So it's very important for the employees and the kind of like the professionals to reskill themselves and upskill themselves. And second one is coming to the engagement. Employee engagement, more from an employer perspective. There are quite a few startups or innovative ideas on the table in last 2 to 3 months that we have seen. Vertical kind of the engagement, right? For example, in retail, there is one startup that kind of like work with the retail chains about how they can engage their shop floor people, right? There is one idea that recently started is that how in the hospital sector and how they can engage the not the doctor per se, but most of the nurses, the compounders, these people, because they go to a lot of stress, etc. So how do we engage them, right? Beyond this, the work, how do we keep engaging them? So there are few ideas out there. People are kind of like provide an offer and product and services there.
I'll just make a very brief point here. Given the situation that we are in, and we are mostly servicing or taking care of the existing business, this is the right time to sharpen our knives. So all kind of trainings in consolidation related initiatives can be taken at this point in time if you have the buffer or the bandwidth internally. Like for instance, for example, we are internally kind of deploying pods to understand some specific machine learning aspects. And of course, the training can be, so in this situation, the training is more internal. Certain of our data science related concepts, fundamental concepts, are taken by our head of product as a initiative. So this is my view is that this is the right time to sharpen the knives.
Sure. I'll just take the next one. So it says we're a manufacturing company under duress due to high fixed costs and no productivity since closure due to COVID. Owners have taken a full pay cut. Would you think it's better to reduce employee salaries slightly in the short run so their jobs can be secured long term? So interesting question. I think we covered small aspects of it. Our thoughts and largely most founder thoughts have always been that layoff is never the first preference. Taking small cuts and ensuring that layoffs don't happen is always the first preference, and that we've seen common across. If it gets to a point where even after cutting costs you're not getting there, plus you do like Sada mentioned, that you do a efficiency test on how efficient employees are. What happens is all organizations have two broad categories. One category is the category of team that is servicing all the existing business requirements. On the second hand, there's a category which is basically working on all future related products. So these could be products that will generate revenue down the line. So the thought process has been that as step one, look at all of those aspects and consider cutting down on the future growth plans, and at the same time see if we can sustain the existing team in all ways possible, and continue catering to what we are. I think that's one of the thought process. In case Sachit, Sada, Varun, if there's anything to add there.
I'll add a few more perspectives here. Is that so I also see two layers. One, if you find that certain of your team members are, any which case, were not performing well over the last few quarters, and you see that it's not paying any improvement. That is basically how much ever hand holding you're doing, there's no improvement. I think there you need to take the hard call and let go of. But the rest of the people who are performing really good, and this is the time I would look at, is where you win the loyalty. How you go about with this, you distribute the cuts across this entire cohort, have a buy-in from the stakeholders, let the leaders of the functions can talk to them, and take a distributed pay cut so that everybody are into it. And in today's situation, most of your team members will understand it. That's one. Number two is, if you are a owner and the founder of the company, or you're close to the management, what you could do also is you can see for the cuts that you're doing at this point in time, you can give stock options in lieu of that, where they feel that there is some kind of a consideration that is there. By virtue of doing this, you're bringing some commitment from them also to the company, and they are taking a very long-term view. That's the second part. And third thing is, this is a more of a caveat, is that I have observed certain of my acquaintances kind of defer the payouts. They kind of say that we will pay at a later point in time. It's a good approach, but I would kind of tweak it in such a way that, hey, at this point in time, for instance, I cannot pay you your variable, but what we can do is, let's consider this is not paid at this point in time, but in future when we come back, at that point in time, if suppose I was paying 100% of your variable, I can see if it is possible, and it's not a commitment per se. I can pay 150 or 200% and see how that can be compensated, and it's definitely there in back of our mind. So that's my view.
Sure.
Hey, Varun, you're on mute.
Varun, you're on mute.
So just to add one additional point, I think the gentleman who asked this question has done the first right thing in terms of, it's always said the first cut has to be from the owners, and I think he has already taken that step. Just tying up the points, you should do a detailed scenario analysis of the runway for 12 to 15, 18 months, whatever is the correct period that you see when your business may come back, and you will be in a position to sustain on that eventually. But till that time, do the detailed cash flow analysis, consider only the most conservative revenue, and work out a couple of scenarios. It will help you get the right answer rather than try to insist on one particular scenario only. So it could be then you can categorize the rest of the employees into cat A, cat B kind of thing, and somebody who would be below a particular quantum of salaries, where you would not have any option of deductions. And in terms of cat A, you could go about doing 1/3, and then cat B could go about doing 1/6, and likewise build out a scenario which will help you frame informed decisions. So just that, basically wanted to put an objective perspective as to how to go about doing the calculations as well. I think this is data driven decisions will be rather than just a gut or the perspective based. Data driven decisions will help you be more informed, be able to more communicate well to the team, communicate transparently. So yeah, that's ideally the second and the third steps that you should take.
And I just want to add to the reason that I mentioned on the second point of not differing, is that let's not carry the liabilities in the books. The reason being, we don't know how things are going to pan out. Still, the economic impact of it is too uncertain. Avoid as much as possible of carrying any liabilities in the books.
Sure. So I think we'll probably take the last two questions, Sachit, Varun, Sada. I think we're almost on time. So I'll just shorten this question a little from Aritra Day. It's a slightly long one, but essentially the gist of it is that the businesses into
I read through that question,
Yeah.
Mitul. I'll go for the second option, reduce cost and wait out the servicing of our existing clients. I'm totally with the person's observation that the sales cycle to get a new contract or a new project is going to be elongated at this point in time because the budgets are shrinking or frozen at your customers' end. I would clearly go for the second option.
Fair point.
There is one question by a person named Sayan Pal. In an early stage startup, when do you ring alarm bells in the case of negative cash flow in the first 2 years? My specific answer, and you guys can add to it, is that if your current cash versus the burn is only having a runway less than 12 months, this is my view, then you need to raise the alarm bells. If it is 18 months and above, then you're good. But if it is less than 18 months, or if it is less than 12 months, then you have to raise the alarm bells. Between 12 to 18 months is up to you.
Sure. We'll probably just take the other two since we have a few minutes left. I think so from Kanika there is, or I think one, yeah, from Kanika there's how we can look upon NGOs growth and funding. Sorry, Kanika, I'm not very clear on this question. In case you are online, maybe you would
elaborate
want to
more on this.
Fine, we'll probably come to it. I think the other one from Praveen RS is, what is the scope for a curbside retail pickup services kind of startup in India during this time and going forward? So
I think actually it's a time up. It's okay. We have 2 to 3 minutes. You can wrap up with the last these things, and you can also you can also make me the host. Right, you can make me the host, and we can wrap it up. Actually, we have 5 minutes with your last comments.
Sure. So just parting comments. The rest of the panelists can of course add. I think things will get better. I think everyone is kind of positive about that. Fortunately, India as a country, government, people have all been proactive, and we're not as bad as other countries. Long way to go, of course. It doesn't mean that we're out of it yet, but it's better. 50,000 cases is still not a big number. I think all of us have to just be positive about it and just get out of it and ensure we're back to normal. That would be my parting thoughts. In case any of the other people want to add.
Yeah, quickly, we talked about do ensure the scenario analysis is done. Go with the base case. Should start with the base case to go with a conservative view. That's one. And second is from an investment standpoint, investing in your people, investing in the any other the spends that you are planning. Do think about the three things that we spoke about. One is how quickly you can adapt for if there is a change in the scenario. And second is, are you in an industry which is in a headwind or a tailwind industry? And then to understand your marketing channels and how you are relevant, how is your product relevant to the customer?
Sure. I'll just add. Yes, Sachit, go ahead.
So yeah, mine is a quick one. At this point in time, as Mitul said, let's be positive. I'll give you a comfort that everybody is facing this, not only any of you if you're looking at separately. Every person in the world is facing this situation. So my suggestion is that one is to over-communicate during this time with all of your stakeholders. Two is engage them in the decision-making process. Let the rationality prevail.
Sure. So just the last line, basically, I think, since individually, if you look at it, everybody is, highly impacted and, trying to, come out of our own struggles. But I think there is a significant benefit, and merit in when we come together. So I think, according to me, the smart way to boost your business runway is to, collaborate, come together. Let's embrace this chaos and, come out thriving.
Yeah, I think Keshava, that's about it. I've made you host. Thank you, Nsrcel.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for taking your time, especially Mithul. Thank you wonderfully actually moderating the panel and sharing your views. Special thanks to Varun, Sachit, and Sadashiv. So nice of you. Okay, guys, that is it. With our association with the Bloom, actually, we are ending this series here. Actually, our next our session with the Bloom will be on in the month of July. We will keep you posted. Okay, with that, stay safe and secure. Okay, that's what it is. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.